Hey guys, and welcome to the next episode of the Random Watch Dude. Thanks for joining me. My name's Mark, and on this channel basically what I do is I just talk about my watch journey. Lots of different videos. If you haven't already seen any of my videos or subscribed, have a look at the library. I've got lots of videos about Rolex and Omega and vintage and Seiko and Grand Seiko, and I just basically talk randomly about different subjects that are of interest to me. So today's video, I'm going to talk about Rolex. And it's kind of a video of two parts, really. Now, you'll recall that quite recently I made a video about an experience that I had at one of the ADs here in Auckland in New Zealand, and how that experience had kind of been the final straw that broke the camel's back, or the nail in the coffin, if you like, of my Rolex, the Rolex phase of my watch collecting journey. Now, you will have noticed that since I made that video, that was just over 2 weeks ago now, that video amazingly took over 20,000 views in those 2 weeks. It took about 10,000 views in the first couple of days. Now, just to put that in perspective, and I'm not gloating about this, by the way, but just to put this in perspective, most of my videos struggle to get to about 1,000 views. And I've got a couple of other Rolex videos, mostly reviews of my GMT Master 2s. They've got to sort of 7,000–8,000 over about 3 months. So this video that I made about an experience at Rolex AD got to 4 times, 5 times where most of my videos get to in a very, very short period of time. And it was a bit of a whinge, guys, wasn't it? You know, let's be fair. For those of you that have seen it, which is probably most of you that are watching this now, it's a bit of a whinge. There's a part 2 to it, and I'll just say now, I'll qualify it by saying I've taken that original video down. It no longer is available for you to view and won't be in the future. And in the second part of this video, I'm going to talk about why. But the first part of this video is even more of an exciting subject. I want to talk about the Rolex Waitlist, which most of you out there think is a myth. But before I get onto that, quick wristwatch check, or wristwatch check. This is a Rolex GMT Master 2. This is the VTNR, what it's commonly referred to as the Sprite. I prefer to refer to it as the Riddler. Because of the green and black, which is the colours of the Riddler, and of course that's related to Batman, which is another famous nickname for a GMT Master 2. I've no idea why people call this the Sprite. It makes no sense to me at all. The green, maybe, but there is no black in the Sprite logo, so I've absolutely no idea how people see any logic in calling it the Sprite at all. But it does seem to be the name that stuck. So because we're all sheep and we've got that herd mentality, haven't we, when it comes to Rolex and nicknames, it's the name of the Sprite is stuck, but I'm going to call it the Riddler and get over it. So what I want to talk about here, guys, in the first part of my video is the Rolex Waitlist. Because when I made my original video a couple of weeks ago about my AD experience, and I said I'd removed myself from the list, I had a few comments come back and saying, oh, you're an idiot because there is no waitlist, you're wasting your time. And I beg to differ, guys. There is a Rolex waitlist. We call it the waitlist. They don't call it a waitlist, but we call it a waitlist. Now, when we think of a waitlist, and I'm just going to explain really in as few words as I possibly can, which you'll know is difficult for me, I'm going to explain in as few words as I possibly can why there is such confusion around the Rolex waitlist, if we want to call it that, and actually the list that Rolex actually uses to help them determine who gets a watch. So a waitlist is something that us lay people would commonly refer to as a list of people's names, and you essentially think that your name gets called out and you get awarded a Rolex, depending on the chronological order in which that list runs. Now, this is the key thing, guys. We assume that the waitlist is a chronological list of people's names. In other words, you've put your list down, you've put your name on the list for a Daytona. You're the 52nd person on that list who hasn't yet had a Daytona. And once the 51 people in front of you have got the call for the Daytona, you think, because you're number 52, that you'll eventually, when your number comes up, you know, you're number 52 on the list, and 51 just got his Daytona last month, so it's my turn now. That's what people typically think of as a wait list, and this is where people get confused. That's not how it works, but that's not to say that, that Rolex ADs don't keep a list of who is interested in what watch. Now, the best way for me to explain how this works is to refer to a system that most watch companies, not just Rolex ADs, but most watch companies and most good businesses in any industry use to track and to monitor their customers, their contacts, and the information about their customers. And it's called a CRM system, guys, Customer Relationship Management System. They're very, very common in most good businesses. They all have one. And the Rolex ADs and all of the other decent watch companies, outlets that sell watches, have a CRM system. They have a customer relationship management system. The way it works is you go in there, you buy a watch. Let's say you buy a Tag Heuer Aqua Racer, for example. The minute you buy that watch, when they take your money and hand over the watch, they take all of your details, they enter it into their CRM system. You have now become a customer. They enter your details into the CRM system. Now, that's got your telephone number, it's got your name and address, of course, and also there's loads of free text fields in this system, guys. There are loads of other menus and fields that they can go and put more information in. Now, they may put something like, Mark Longley came and bought a Tag Heuer Aqua Racer, here are the details, here's the invoice. He likes playing football, he supports Manchester United. You know, they might want to put that in there because that is useful information about that customer. So if that customer returns, the sales guy might look you up and say, oh yeah, Mark, okay, so he likes football and he supports Manchester United. Oh, and he bought that tag. You know, this is information that businesses find very, very useful, guys, not just for their commercial customers, but also for their private customers. I've worked in businesses where I've got customer relationships, for example, and I quite often, when I go and meet a key contact and I've had a conversation with them and I happen to find out that, you know, that he was born in Scotland, for example, and grew up in Edinburgh, I might, when I get back to work, I'll put that into our CRM system. Oh, this guy that I met, who's the procurement manager, he's a Scottish guy, he was born in Edinburgh. This is the kind of information which companies love because it helps ensure that when somebody leaves your business, like when the salesperson or the contact leaves the business, there's still some information about that customer. And it's no different with watch companies, guys, and ADs. They keep information about you for the right reasons, I will add, because they want to maintain that relationship with you and get to know you. So the way it works with the Rolex List, guys, and let's say I've just bought my Aqua Racer, my Tag Heuer Aqua Racer, what happens then if I turn around and say to the sales associate, maybe I go back in a couple of weeks later and I say, hey, you know, now that I've got that Aqua Racer and that tag, and I'm really pleased with it, but you know, I'd really like a Rolex Explorer. And of course the sales associate will go, of course sir, yeah, I haven't got a Rolex Explorer to sell you right now, of course, because they're in high demand. But I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll register your interest. And that's basically how they say it. They'll register your interest. They don't tell you they're going to put you on the wait list. The whole wait list thing, guys, is something that us watch collectors have kind of constructed on our minds to make it easy. You know, we never talk about, oh, I've got myself on the CRM system. We don't say that, do we? We just say, I've got myself on the wait list. So the sales associate will enter your interest in the Rolex Explorer on their CRM system. Now, this is the way it works, okay? So every month or 2 or 3 times a month with some of the larger ADs, maybe even more frequently, they get a delivery of Rolex watches, okay, from the central distribution hub in the region, who hold all of the Rolex watches for the region. They send out packages of watches to all the ADs at least once a month, usually 2 or 3 times a month, possibly even weekly for a busy AD. That AD will know what watches are coming to them, usually a week or 2 before they arrive. They have an opportunity to order watches. So if you went in there and said, I want I don't know, an Everose Gold Daytona, for example, which aren't in really huge demand right now, you might be able to get that watch quite quickly now, because that watch will be available at the regional distribution depot. It will be at the hub. It doesn't come directly from Switzerland, it'll be at the regional distribution hub, typically, and the ADs can order those watches. They can actually put in a physical order for some watches specifically for you. But of course, with the really hot watches, to a degree the Explorer is still reasonably hot. You won't see one available in the AD, in the case to buy. You'd still have to register your interest in that. But what will typically happen is, once an AD has got, say, 20 people, on the list, on the registered interest list on their database for an Explorer, they'll be looking at that and saying, oh, geez, I've got a lot of interest in this watch. I really need to make sure I'm ordering at least 4 or 5 of these if I possibly can, more. So that's why, guys, the ADs are always really keen for you to register your interest in a Rolex watch, because that helps them determine which watches to order and which ones there isn't really much interest in. So this is where the CRM system really helps the AD. It really helps them understand that they're making sure that they're not ordering in duds basically from their regional depot that are going to sit in their case and not sell. They only really want to order things that they can sell, and that's where their CRM system and your name on the wait list for this variety of watches is really important to them. So let's say, for example, a Submariner no date comes in, a 124060 comes in. What will typically happen is that all of the sales associates in that AD will have registered all their clients' interests in that watch, and of course all the sales associates, they know what's come in, they know what's in the bundle of watches which has just been unpacked off of the back of the courier van. And let's say there's 2 Submariners in there, 124060s. What will happen typically is all the sales guys will get together with the branch manager, and they'll get onto their CRM system, and they'll say, right, okay, who's interested in this watch? And again, this is where your information will appear on the list. They will look at the list of people who have registered and interested in this watch, and they'll get the whole list in front of them and say, and again, it's not in chronological order of when you put your name on, they'll look at the whole list and say, right, who do we want to give this watch to? And what will typically happen is there'll be a big conversation, and my understanding is all the sales associates get really excited because they've got a couple of customers in their mind for these watches, and there's a negotiation takes place. At most of the ADs, this is how I understand it to work. There's a negotiation that takes place for a watch like a Submariner or a Daytona or a GMT Master 2, for example. You will really have to work hard as a sales associate to get your branch manager to approve you offering that watch to one of your customers. And how does that get done? How do you make sure as a sales associate that watch is going to the right customer and not going to a flipper? And again, guys, this is where the CRM system that these guys use is critical, because the branch manager will not allow a sales associate to award, let's say, a Pepsi or an Explorer or a Submariner to somebody that we have absolutely no information on our CRM system about. So it's not just about spend history, guys. It's about how much as a sales associate do we know about this customer. What do they do for a living? And that's why quite often, guys, subtly they will ask you what you do for a living. When you've told them what you do for a living, they will enter that information onto the CRM system. So they're building a picture of you, they're building up a profile of you as a customer, so that when that Pepsi comes in that you put your name down for, the sales associate can proudly sit in front of their branch manager and say, yep, I know Mark, I know all about him. He's a Manchester United supporter, he's originally from England, actually turned 50 quite recently, and he's a lovely guy. You know, that's the kind of information that convinces then the branch manager to say, oh, well, actually, you do seem to know quite a lot about this guy, so he's clearly been in a lot, and, you know, and I can see also that he's bought a few watches. So that, guys, is in a nutshell how it works. This is how they decide who gets the watch. Obviously, there is on the very occasional instance when a branch manager might just turn around and veto everybody's request, and the branch manager will just decide that they're going to give the watch to somebody completely out of the left field. And my understanding is that does happen fairly regularly, and you can imagine there's a bit of a furore amongst the sales guys, you know, who've been working really hard to get you your Pepsi that you've been asking them for very nicely. But that's the way it works. So, like I said, I've had a few comments in recent videos saying, you know, you're kidding yourself, there isn't a wait list. Yeah, there is. There absolutely is. It's called a CRM system. It's called a customer relationship management system. All of your details are on it at the AD. And basically, the more information the AD has about you, guys, this is the way it works. The more information your sales associate has about you, the more likely you are, when that Pepsi comes in, the more likely you are to be one of the people that's considered for it. So, the next question, the final question, I guess, in this is, how do you know that your information is on the system? How do you know that you're even on the list? How do you know that when you've expressed an interest that the AD hasn't just, as soon as you've walked out the door, just thrown the bit of paper in the bin and forgotten about it and had a little chuckle? Because we know that happens, don't we? So my question to you guys and my challenge to you is, next time you're visiting your AD, ask them to bring up your list and ask them to tell you what's on the list. It's quite simple, isn't it? Walk in there and say, hey, my name's Mark. I've been in a few times, and yeah, I recognise you. Yeah. Oh, can you just remind me of what's on my expression of interest list, please? That's going to tell you everything, guys, isn't it? Because if they start saying, oh, what's your name again, and can you? I can't find you under your name. What was your phone number? Oh, have you ever had a different phone number before this one? Because I can't. This phone number's not. You start to have that conversation. You know that you're not being taken seriously. But if you go to your AD and say, hey, look, please update me. Can you just tell me what's on my expression of interest list? I've forgotten. If they've taken all your details and they can rattle off all the watches that you've registered an interest in, you're on the system, guys. You are on the wait list. You don't need to call it a wait list if it really aches for you to call it a wait list. Just say that you're on their CRM system, because that's actually what it is. Okay, right. Okay, so I think I've cleared that one up. The second portion of this video, guys, I wanted to talk very briefly about my experience that I had quite recently with the Hourglass in Auckland. Now, I know that most of you watching this will have seen that video. And in a nutshell, guys, I've taken that video down, despite the fact that it was a very popular video, which you could argue, is good for my channel and it gets more exposure to the channel. Some of the comments were a little bit, I don't know, I kind of got the impression that a lot of the people that aren't usually watching my videos were on there pretty much just to watch that video, and they're not going to come back or take an interest in anything else. So that kind of made me think, is this the kind of video that I want to leave up here? Because it gives the wrong impression potentially of what this channel is really about. But the most important thing is, guys, in a nutshell, I met with the general manager of the Hourglass in Auckland recently. And I'm not going to mention any names, of course. I really want to make sure that this is just a very general overview that I'm going to give you now. But I have been assured, and I feel very assured, that the experience I had at the Hourglass in Auckland, which was bad because I was essentially ignored by 4 sales associates who weren't busy, and I was the only customer in the boutique at the time. I was basically ignored, and I was basically given the very, very clear sign that I wasn't welcome in the boutique. They didn't know me, they didn't recognise me, nobody knew who I was. And I have been assured by the general manager, who I've met and actually had nearly a 2-hour meeting with quite recently. They have apologised profusely. They're not denying anything that I've said. And if you remember that video, I said quite a few things. I said quite a few things which some people, even in the comments, thought I was being a little bit, I was exaggerating, potentially even, something a little bit close to, xenophobic, if you like, because I had seen, and other people have seen, that they do seem to have a preference for serving Asian customers. Nothing in my video was denied by them. In fact, everything I said in my video was accepted by them, and of course everything that happened during that time that I was in that boutique was caught on high definition CCTV from various angles. So they've watched that video in great detail of me actually physically being in there, and they can see exactly what happened. They are mortified, they're horrified, and I've had apologies. I've had multiple apologies from the Hourglass, from the general manager directly, and I've also spoken to the regional manager of the Hourglass, who's based in Australia, and who took the time to give me a call, and we've had a chat. And I've been very clear about how I feel, and I've been very clear about what I expect to see from them in the future. On that basis, guys, I think it would be unfair for me to leave my original video up. And the reason is, there are so many people that watch that original video that will never watch any other video. They probably wouldn't even watch this one. That it would be very unfair of me to leave that video up and leave all of those people with the impression that situation hasn't changed, because it has changed. So I've taken it down. I've kind of kissed and made up, I suppose you could say, with the Hourglass. And before you say anything and start tapping away in the comments section, no, I didn't get a watch out of it, and no, I'm not back on the list. I am in their CRM system, of course, as a previous customer with some pretty decent spend history. I got this from them. But I am very clear with them that I don't want any more Rolex. I've also been very clear that I don't want any more Rolex from my other AD that I've bought Rolex from in the past, which is Partridge Jewellers here in Auckland. And so no, guys, nothing's changed in terms of, you know, how I am with Rolex. I love the watches, I love the product. These are fantastic watches, guys. If you can get a Rolex, and I said this in the previous video, if you can just get one Rolex for retail from an AD, just stop there, honestly. I mean, that's my advice, having been through this process now, is just stop. You're on a winner. Get one, walk away, and get into other watches. That's my advice, and that's pretty much what I'm doing now, having got more than one. So I'm a bit of a greedy bugger, really, aren't I? And so guys, that's the end of the video. Sorry it's another long one, and congratulations to those of you that got to the end. Thank you very much. You know, it's quite a marathon, isn't it? Most people out there on YouTube, you know, have basically got a 4 to 7 minute concentration span, and I'm really sorry, but that's probably not your cup of tea, is it? You know, this kind of video. So thanks for watching, guys. If you can bear this kind of 20-minute rant about lots of different things regarding watches, do that thing where you sort of like and comment and subscribe. Much appreciated, and I look forward to seeing you on the next non-Rolex related video. Cheers, guys.